We stand on the threshold of a new era, where the line between human and machine creativity blurs with each passing day. Just yesterday, a painting created by a neural network caused surprise. Today, it wins awards at art competitions. Musical compositions written by artificial intelligence are played in millions of people's playlists, and texts generated by algorithms are published in prestigious editions. Art, which for centuries remained exclusively human territory, is now being mastered by machines. When a portrait created by a neural network was first sold at Christie's auction for $400,000, the art world shuddered. This was not just the acquisition of a painting, it was the recognition of a new reality. But are algorithms truly capable of creating? Or do they merely imitate creativity, analyzing millions of existing works? Can genuine inspiration arise within lines of code? These questions divide society into techno-optimists and skeptics, forcing us to reevaluate the very essence of the creative act. The history of artificial intelligence in creativity began long before the current boom. As early as the 1950s, simple algorithms created the first musical compositions. The ELIAC computer produced the ELIAC suite, a primitive but astonishing experiment for its time. In the 1970s, artist Harold Cohen developed Aaron, a program that drew abstract paintings. But these were merely the beginnings of what we see today. The real breakthrough occurred with the advent of deep learning. 2015 was a turning point. Google introduced Deep Dream, an algorithm that transforms ordinary images into psychedelic visions. The internet was filled with pictures of dog eyes emerging from clouds and trees. This was the public's first mass contact with artificial intelligence creativity. The next step was generative adversarial networks, GANs, which made it possible to create photorealistic images of non-existent people. The revolution in textual creativity began with GPT, which learned to write coherent texts indistinguishable from human ones. DALL-E and Midjourney revolutionized the world of visual art, allowing images to be created from textual descriptions. Musical neural networks learned to imitate the styles of famous composers and create original works. The key factor in this evolution was scaling. Modern models are trained on billions of examples of human creativity, absorbing and reinterpreting the cultural heritage of all humanity. Where does the line between genuine creativity and its imitation lie? This question becomes particularly acute when we look at the works of neural networks. A neural network can compose a symphony in the style of Mozart, or create a painting indistinguishable from Van Gogh's works. But is this creativity in the true sense of the word? Philosophers and art critics offer several criteria. The first is intention. A human creates to express emotions, convey an idea, or comprehend the world. An algorithm has no intrinsic desire for self-expression. It optimizes statistical patterns. The second criterion is originality. Neural networks are trained on existing works and, in essence, create variations of what already exists. Even the most impressive results are combinatorial arrangements of elements extracted from the training dataset. Human creativity is capable of a true breakthrough, of creating something fundamentally new. The third criterion is conscious choice. An artist deliberately rejects some solutions in favor of others, based on their vision. An algorithm, however, simply follows a probabilistic distribution, without understanding the meaning of what it creates. But the boundaries are blurring. Modern neural networks sometimes create works that surprise even their creators, going beyond simple imitation. Perhaps we are on the threshold of a new form of creativity, a hybrid one, where human intention meets the computational power of machines. Neural networks are not competitors to human genius, but its powerful allies. Imagine an artist who uses DALL-E not to replace their own talent, but as a tool to expand their capabilities. They set parameters, correct results, weave machine creativity into their vision. It's as if Michelangelo had an assistant with infinite imagination and impeccable technique. Musicians today use AI to create new soundscapes inaccessible to traditional instruments. A writer facing a creative block can get dozens of plot development options, choosing the one that resonates with their idea. Director Oscar Sharp and researcher Ross Goodwin created the short film, quote, the script for which was entirely written by a neural network. They didn't just accept the algorithm's text, but interpreted it, breathing life into strange, sometimes absurd dialogues. The creative tandem of human and machine generates unique results, impossible for each individually. Neural networks take on the routine aspects of creativity, selecting a color palette, generating background elements, finding rhymes, freeing humans to solve conceptual tasks. They become catalysts for ideas, offering unexpected combinations and solutions that a human might not discover on their own. This is not a replacement for human creativity, but its evolution. Creative professions, which for centuries were considered untouchable by automation, have today found themselves on the front lines of the technological revolution. Neural networks are already transforming entire industries, and the first to be hit were those whose work involves creating typical content. Illustrators who create stock images have faced competition from systems that generate dozens of illustration variations in seconds. Shutterstock integrated generative algorithms directly into its platform, allowing clients to create images on demand instead of purchasing ready-made works from photographers. Copywriters specializing in advertising texts and product descriptions are giving way to neural networks capable of generating hundreds of text variations, taking into account the target audience and marketing objectives. Forbes magazine already uses an algorithm to write financial reports and news notes. In interface design, companies are implementing systems that automatically adapt layouts to different devices and user preferences. The socio-economic consequences of these changes are already palpable. According to a University of Oxford study, up to 30% of creative workers may lose their jobs or face significant reductions in orders in the next 5 years. The Dentsu agency in Japan reduced 10% of its creative staff, replacing their work with artificial intelligence systems. But not all professions are equally vulnerable. Creative specialists working on unique projects that require a deep understanding of cultural context, emotional intelligence, and original vision remain in demand. Directors, conceptual artists, creative directors, those who form strategic vision and set the creative direction are still relatively safe. While some professions fade into the past, entirely new specialties emerge in their place, unimaginable even 5 years ago. Prompt engineers, the new elite of digital creativity, craft precise instructions for neural networks, transforming vague ideas into concrete results. This is a hybrid of programmer and artist, possessing both the technical nuances of algorithms and a subtle understanding of aesthetics. Companies like Anthropic and Midjourney pay such specialists six-figure sums annually. The profession of AI content curator has appeared, a person who selects the best works from thousands of options proposed by a neural network, giving them context and meaning. These individuals are becoming the new art dealers of the digital age. AI creativity ethicists develop principles for the responsible use of generative technologies, resolving complex issues of authorship and cultural appropriation. Traditional creators find new niches, emphasizing uniquely human qualities, emotional depth, cultural context, social significance. Artists become directors of AI projects, writers, editors, and interpreters of machine creativity. Designers retrain as creators of concepts and meanings, leaving technical implementation to algorithms. The key to survival in the new reality is hybrid skills, an understanding of both creative processes and technological capabilities. The AI era has given us a remarkable phenomenon: the democratization of creativity. If, in the past, creating a painting required years of study, writing music demanded an understanding of composition theory, and making a film necessitated expensive equipment, today these barriers are rapidly disappearing. An ordinary person with a laptop can create works that, just yesterday, were only accessible to professionals. A young mother from Minnesota who has never held a brush uses a neural network to create illustrations for her children's fairy tales. A teenager from a small town generates music tracks that sound on par with studio productions. A retiree who discovered a passion for literature in the twilight of their life writes a novel with the help of a text assistant. This isn't just a hobby, it's a new form of self-expression, accessible to everyone. The boundaries between amateur and professional creativity are blurring. Works created with AI are appearing in galleries, being played on the radio and published by publishing houses. A paradoxical situation arises. The tools become so powerful that technical mastery ceases to be the defining factor. Originality of idea, conceptual vision, and the ability to formulate the right prompt come to the forefront. New creative communities are emerging, uniting people around experiments with neural networks. They exchange prompts, techniques, and share results. This is a revival of folk art in the digital age, where art is created not for an elite, but for self-expression and communication. However, democratization also brings challenges. Information noise is growing, uniqueness is devalued, and there is a risk of aesthetic standardization. The world of art and technology has encountered an unprecedented ethical challenge. Neural networks are trained on millions of works created by artists, writers, and musicians, often without their knowledge or consent. This raises a fundamental question. Is it fair to use someone else's creative work to train systems that could potentially replace the creators themselves? Artist Sarah Anderson discovered her works in Midjourney's training data, despite never having given permission for this. Stability AI faced a class action lawsuit from artists claiming their styles were appropriated without compensation. The legal system is barely keeping pace with technological progress. In the landmark case Getty Images vs. Stability AI, the court for the first time considered the question: is training a neural network on copyrighted images a violation of the law? It's even more difficult to determine who owns the rights to the results of AI's work. When a writer uses a neural network to create a novel, who is the author? The human, the machine, or the algorithm developers? The U.S. Copyright Office refused to register works created exclusively by AI, but recognized the possibility of protecting works where a human exercised creative control. In Europe, a more nuanced approach is forming. It's proposed to introduce a special category of rights for AI-generated content with a limited term of protection. China went the furthest, recognizing AI authorship for an image in 2023, but with commercial rights reserved for the human who formulated the prompt. This legal chaos reflects a profound transformation of the very concept of creativity in the digital age. Creativity with neural networks changes not only the result, but also the creator himself. When an artist first sees a painting created by an algorithm based on his request, he experiences a complex range of emotions. Admiration coexists with anxiety, pride with doubt. To whom does this beauty belong? Psychologists note an interesting phenomenon. People working with AI go through several stages of attitude towards collaborative creativity. First, euphoria arises from new possibilities. Then, a crisis of self-esteem. If a machine can create a masterpiece in seconds, what is the value of years of training? The third stage is re-evaluation and acceptance of a new role. A person realizes that his value is not in the technique of execution, but in vision, choice, and interpretation. Paradoxically, many creators note that the use of neural networks has strengthened their connection with their works. They have begun to approach the creative process more consciously, to formulate their ideas more clearly. A new type of authorial pride emerges, not for mastering the brush or the word, but for the ability to guide artificial intelligence to create what existed only in imagination. Emotional attachment to the result also changes. A Stanford University study showed that people feel no less, and sometimes greater, attachment to works created in co-authorship with AI. They see in them a reflection of their inner world, embodied with the help of a digital intermediary. Creativity becomes no less, but more significant. It transforms from a demonstration of skill into an act of pure self-expression. The paradox of our time. The more perfect algorithms become at imitating human creativity, the higher the value placed on authentic manual labor. At auctions, hand-painted watercolors sell for more than perfect digital works. Vinyl records are experiencing a renaissance in an era of flawless digital sound. Handwritten letters become a treasure in a world of instant messages. This is not just nostalgia, it is a search for authenticity. When a neural network can create a Rembrandt-style portrait in seconds, the style itself ceases to be unique. Value shifts from execution technique to the story of creation, to imperfections that bear witness to the human nature of the creator. Artist Anna Ridley deliberately abandoned digital tools, returning to traditional wood engraving. Her exhibition, Traces of the Hand, attracted a record number of visitors, people eager to see works that preserve physical evidence of the creative process. New criteria for evaluating art are forming. If before we admired the mastery of execution, now we seek the unique human experience behind the work. Art critics speak of post-digital authenticity, a value that arises not despite, but thanks to the existence of perfect algorithmic copies. This is not a rejection of technology, but a new equilibrium. Many artists consciously combine manual labor with AI capabilities, creating hybrid works where machine precision is complemented by human unpredictability. In this dialogue between imperfect humanity and perfect algorithm, a new aesthetic of the 21st century is born. The next decade promises revolutionary changes in the creative interaction between humans and artificial intelligence. Leading research centers are already testing systems capable of reading an artist's neural impulses and instantly visualizing their mental images. Imagine, you simply think of a landscape, and the neural network already creates it on screen, capturing the slightest nuances of your imagination. The NeuroArts Lab in Tokyo is demonstrating a prototype that allows a musician to literally, quote, in real time. Next-generation interactive systems will adapt to your creative style, anticipating intentions and offering solutions you hadn't even considered. We are moving towards an era where the boundaries between conception and realization will practically disappear. Research in emotional intelligence will enable neural networks to capture not only technical specifications, but also the mood, the emotional undertone of a request. The paradigm of creativity will inevitably transform. From creating a final product, to curating an endless stream of possibilities. The artist of the future is not someone who masterfully wields a tool, but someone who knows how to ask the right questions, guiding artificial intelligence into uncharted territories. In this symbiosis of human imagination and computational power, a new form of art is born, freer, bolder, overcoming limitations we once considered insurmountable. Creativity becomes not an act of creation, but an act of exploration and discovery. In an era where algorithms create masterpieces in seconds, we are forced to ask ourselves a fundamental question: what does it mean to be a creator? Perhaps the true value of creativity has never been in technical mastery. Neural networks have proven that virtuoso command of a brush, a word, or a note can be algorithmized. But they cannot replicate one thing: the unique human experience through the prism of which we perceive the world. An artist paints not just a landscape, but a reflection of their experiences associated with that place. A writer imbues text not only with words, but also with their pain, joy, doubts. This emotional depth is a territory inaccessible to artificial intelligence. It can imitate emotions, but it cannot experience them. We stand on the threshold of a new era of creativity, where technical execution ceases to be a barrier, and the main thing becomes the meaning we invest in the work. Creativity transforms from a demonstration of skill into an act of self-discovery and dialogue with the world. The human creator becomes not a virtuoso of the instrument, but a conduit of meanings, a curator of possibilities, an explorer of the unseen. Neural networks do not take away our creativity. They liberate us for deeper creativity. They take on the technical burden, allowing us to focus on what makes us human: the ability to comprehend, empathize, see connections between phenomena. Perhaps it is now, when machines have learned to imitate our art, that we will finally understand its true essence.